Hey guys, it's early fall. There's no Eagles game until Sunday. So what are we going to do? Let's go to Tom's Gun Show. Come check it out. Okay, I call this my gun show, my private gun show, just because there's not a lot out there. But these all came in within the last week or so. I think one or two exceptions, but just came in. So I want to go over these with you. There's a lot of really good education. We're going to start off with a Kate. Those of you who know Luger's, Kate is very rare. It's the first of the Mauser military guns, and it was from 1934. So 1934 Luger, and they called it a Kate because at the time they were trying to hide production numbers and when they were made. They were restricted on making guns. So instead of putting the date, they just put Kate and G-date, and then after that they didn't care anymore. So this is a Kate Luger. We got two in the same week with two matching mags and fully restored. It's just incredible to get one that has two matching mags. This has two. We got two with two matching mags. This is the better of the two. The first one I put on the website and it sold immediately at around $3,500. Now bear in mind, once you restore a gun or refinish it, it drops the price by about a half. And certainly with two matching mags, if it was all original, it would have sold for well over $7,000, $8,000. So let's just go through it. I'm going to start with in here because I showed you the date, and then we do have a tool, and the tool is B90 proof, pretty easy to see, but it's also been refinished. See, that has a high polished blue, and it would not have had a high polished blue originally. Now the gun itself also has a B90 proof, and the way you see this B90, we might have to get a little bit more of a close-up because it's hard to see. Once it was restored, it was blued over, but the good news is that's an original stamp. The last one we just sold previous to this one, they actually restamped the stamps. They look really good, but they're replica stamps. And I prefer the original stamp that's been blued over and a little bit faded. It's a very light strike, but you can see the B90 is very distinct. Now, if I look at this one kind of side by side, the one on the tool is a very distinct strike, and it is different. So I would say this has been restruck and refinished. And so therefore, it really is not a B90 tool. This is a true B90 proof, also with a S91, Kate 1934. A little bit about these numbers. These are all original numbers, and they are matching. Because the Kate and early G-date, they have very distinct serial numbers. If you look at the 3, I call it a long neck. The 3 has a long neck, whereas if you look at the magazine, it has more of a modern-looking 3, and the 9. They're actually all different. So even though this has two matching magazines, this is what the original font would have looked like. You can see the S's on the parts, and the magazine has an S. The B90 proofs have been restruck. All that is to say, this was refinished. The grips are like new. But the original stampings are still there. These are original stampings. These are original stampings. And then the two match magazines are replicas. They are redone post-war. So it makes a nice rig. If this was all correct, it's near $10,000. And instead, it's going to be about half that price. If it even makes it to the website, you can see how nice the straw parts are. So if you just want an example and you don't mind a redone or refurbished, restored, whatever you want to call it. Some people say fake. I wouldn't call it fake. It's real. It's just been restamped and refinished. If you don't mind an example like this, it's really nice to show all your friends and neighbors, you know, when you have them over for Thanksgiving or something like that. Next, we have another Luger, and this one has no apologies. There's no excuses, no apologies. This is just flat out mint, all original, all correct. Look at these front straps, just beautiful. Shiny blue, you can still see the shine on it. It is police, so it has a police sear safety. It is original. Mauser banner. 1941 small date. They do have a 1941 with a slightly bigger date. The only difference is it's a larger date. If I have one, I'll pop one up here, but otherwise, you'll take my word for it. Small date. It also comes at a larger date, and then this is an Eagle L, all of them in 41 would be Eagle L, and that's just the proof mark of the inspector, the police inspector. Comes in 9mm, but I just want you to soak in the goodness. Beautiful finish. Again, all original. It has a matching magazine, and the grips are original and numbered to the gun. You can see here the serial number matches the serial number on the gun and also on the frame under here, same serial number. Just a beautiful example. I was just blown away when this came in the door because I never expected it to be as nice as it is. Okay, that was the Luger genre, as we'll call it. Here we have two boxed Walthers. These are just fun to look at. Obviously, I know a lot about these. I've been collecting these for like 20 years. And the reason I wanted to show these to you is because this one, the box P2P, you won't find a better box. This box goes with the theme of late war. This is the standard box that you see starting in the 1930s and going all the way into the 40s, pre-45. But once it gets toward 43, 44, and maybe a little bit at 45, well, the war was over. Well, actually, the factory was overrun in early April. So this is a later box, and we'll talk about this later box along with some late pickup guns. But let's take a look at this particular PP. This is how it's numbered. It says with signal indicator. I'll show you that. This means it has a spare magazine, or at least I believe the M means there's a spare mag, signal indicator pin. Now, what I love about this box is there's no tape, there's no glue, it's not been restapled. It's just incredible. These boxes, usually when I get them, the guns can be mint, but these are in and out of drawers, in and out of shelves, picked up, put away, go out for target practice, put away, back and forth. They get broken and snarly looking. This is as good as it gets. You can see the cleaning rod is in the original cellophane. Beautiful cleaning rod. And one tip, I always put a lot of people will put it like this, but then when it shakes around, the metal on metal is not a good idea. So when I store them, I do that so that it keeps them from making any scratch marks. Just a side note, no extra charge for that information. Now we take out the original manual. Again, just like this is in great shape. There's no stains. Nobody put their coffee cup on there, made a stain. Just in great shape. And it is dated 439, which is actually right in the correct range for the serial number of the gun. So all original, color printing. Really good stuff, very cool. I get jazzercised about this stuff. I hope you do too. Really excites me. Here's the early tin. We're going to see a late tin over here. The early tin has the Walther factory and logo on it, and when you open it up, there it has the Walther banner cellophane with the cloth that you use to clean the bore, and there's the original. I guess that's original oil. Usually it's kind of a brownish color, but this is nice and clear. Maybe it's just that clean. But there's the original oil and a rag. I'll put that over there. Comes with a spare magazine, which I think is why the M was marked. And look at that. There's barely a line. When a magazine is used quite a bit, you see the line where they push the ammo into it. Here, just barely used is what I'm trying to say. It's a Walther banner, dull finish tube with a high polished bottom. And that's correct. That's the transitional look. They started out with a polished magazine. Then they went to a duller, but they were still using the high polished bottom, because when you put the gun together, the high polished bottom just matches the rest of the gun. Take a look at that. Just like this this Luger, actually this is even nicer. It's high polished finish, purple fire blue safety. This thing is 100%. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I see maybe a little wear right there, so I'm going to say 99.8. Just really as good as it comes. I absolutely love this. I don't know why the heck I'm not just putting it in my safe. Look at the grip straps, as good as they come. This is Eagle End. So actually the gun was made early 1940 and the manual was printed in 39, so probably correct. Everything about this gun is perfect. Just like the spare, you can see that the tube is the dull finish. and then the extra mag. Now here's another educational piece, because people write to me and they say, is my magazine faked because it looks like an overstamp? And here you can see the 7.65. This is brand new, and it was overstamped in the factory. And yes, the Germans did do that. Underneath the overstamp is 9 millimeters, so somebody ran it through, and whether it was accidental or on purpose, they marked it for 9 millimeter, but then they diverted it to a 7.65, so they overstamped it. And yes, they did that all the time. And I explained to people that's what happened. Well, I'm told it's fake because they never overstamped. They did. They stamped. I've said before, I have magazines with the stamps upside down, the Walther banner upside down. They didn't throw away. One thing about the Germans, they were fastidious, and they didn't throw things away. So they just overstamped it. And this one is a Walther banner with no caliber. This has the caliber, and yet they both could have come out in 1940, because in 1940 was when they transitioned to no caliber and then to the caliber. Anyway, there's a lot of history in here. One more piece I can show you is, I mentioned the box. Notice the divider, it's often ruined or not there. Here, I found a flaw. That little piece right there has broken off. But again, there's no, if we look at the bottom, oh, there's somebody had probably a price tag on it, some kind of a stamp, it looked like. And but the edges are all intact. It's just a beautiful Walther PP, like new in the box, that I'm going to be offering on the website. Now, here's the box gun that people drool over. This is more what I expect, because you can see here where this has been worn. So this was in and out of a shelf or in and out of a drawer, scraped along here. You can see with the signal indicator pin. I don't think I showed you that on the last one, but right here on the back is the signal indicator pin. When the gun is loaded, the pin comes out, which indicates be cautious, because there is a round in the chamber. So back to the PPK. This is a late war box, and I'm thinking it was late 43, early 44. You see the PPK, the outline, but it's barely visible. There is the Walther banner. Really not much tape at all, but there are some edges that are worn. This is a cleaning brush, which is a little bit different. I'm convinced it came with this. Not sure. I know they use these for 22 calibers, and maybe this was added later, but it could be original. I'm not sure, but this is definitely one that the Walther factory used, just not very much with 7.65. Now you'll notice the manual is completely different, because this is a late manual. They're actually saving money. You can see there's far less pages, far less color printing. It's just an easy fold out compared to the last one. Now this one, of course, in German, but it's also dated right down here, 0143, so the beginning of 43. So this was made in early 43, but it was printed and then put in this box, which I think was later in 43. Now what kind of gun is inside? Again, you can see the divider is intact. Remember the tin? The last one had the factory on it. They simplified it. Now it's just a Walther banner. And we see there's no oil in there. It's kind of browned inside. There's the same cellophane with, there is a Walther banner, I think that's worn off, but Walther banner, cloth, and the oiler all inside the tin. You can see here we have the spare magazine. Now we see, look at that, you have a dull finish on the PPK. And there is a caliber underneath the Walther banner. And this is dull. You can actually see the little button is shiny, but this is now dull. So you see the transition from Walther banner to Walther banner with caliber, high polish finish to dull, and then even all of these parts become a dull finish. You can see everything is intact in the back. That little button is to keep this piece of metal that holds this on, keeps it from, I guess, rubbing against a surface. Now the gun itself, which is all you really wanted to see, you can see this is in mint condition. But remember the PP? I talked about how shiny the finish is. You can see it loud and clear here. Early finish, high polish finish from 1940, early 1940, compared to a later, duller finish, what I call a military finish. You can see it's a dull finish. You can see the bottom of the magazine. Here's the second magazine. Notice there's no finger extension. Both magazines are the same. a duller finish. Calibers on there, so 43. We can see the grip is kind of a darker, almost turning, it's not gray yet. They do have gray grips in this period, but this is like a slightly darker brown, soon to go to gray, soon thereafter to go to black. So it went from brown to dark brown to gray to black. So this is in that transitional period. You can see the serial number. I think I already said 1943. You can see the finish, and no finger extension because this went to the police. The police ordered them, by and large, not every time. PDMs would be an example of a magazine that would have the finger extension. But the police typically just did flat bottom, no finger extension. And when I say finger extension, I mean this plastic piece. So there was not a finger extension on these police guns. The Police Eagle C, remember, what was the Luger that I showed you? It was Police Eagle L. This is Police Eagle C, and that's because the inspector, it's the first initial of their last name. Okay, now I have a theme here. Actually, this one is an outlier. I'm going to show you this, my hint in the beginning. I know none of you are going to go away once I tell you this. Well, the hint is this has 2 matching magazines, but it's not going to be what you're thinking. These are all a collection of late war, actually end of war guns captured by the GIs. So it's a genre of guns that I'm going to show you. But first, let's go to this 2-match magger. You see here a black holster with black stitching. You also see the brass stud, which tells me it's early. Inside, this is the giveaway. Inside, it's you can see RBD, but it does say Stuttgart. You probably can't see that. RBD Stuttgart, early. I believe this is original to the gun. The serial number of the gun is not on here, but I do believe this was all together for a very long time. I had it recorded in my database for quite a while as a railway guard gun. So railway guard gun. RBD was the Reichsbahn, anyway, it's the, somebody who's German can write it in, but that's the German railway system. They did have guards, particularly for trains that were crossing the border. So trying to get into Switzerland or Spain or France or wherever, before the war started, this would be. They still were trying to keep track of migration, immigration, and people leaving the country. They had a vested interest in that. And so RBD Stuttgart is a police guard gun, and this is the holster. And as I said, I'm convinced they came together. The gun itself, serial range, you can see right here. 982 is the first 3 digits, and that's about 1938. So before the war started, but right before the war started. So 1938 was a period of time where there was a lot of migration in and out of Germany, but certainly there were certain people trying to get out of Germany, and for the most part, they didn't mind people, communists or Jews leaving. In fact, they encouraged them to leave, but they didn't want them taking their wealth with them. They wanted them to leave behind their property. So there was railway guards that would police the railway systems, passenger trains. This is a beautiful gun. I'd say it's about 96, 97% high polished finish. I already said 1938. It's 7.65. Now, there are other railway guns all around it. In fact, consecutive to it, there's at least 2 or 3 other railway guns. But there's also SS guns in the same vicinity. I would love for it to be an SS gun, but in order to be an SS gun, it has to have the serial number also, not only here, but here. Some of the railway guns will have, in 1940, they put out some railway guns and they stamped 1940 right here. If I can find one, I'll pop it up there for you. But 1940 is a railway gun. This is a railway gun, not SS, even though it's very close to the SS range, because it's not numbered here. And the magazines are numbered, but SS, they would be numbered right here. If you don't have that information, get my book and you can read about it there, about SS contract guns. But here the railway guns are written on the side. In fact, just today, somebody asked me, are the serial numbers for numbered guns ever on the side? And I just wrote back and said, yes. Some of the police ones are. I failed to say railway guns were also. So police guns, railway guns are sometimes numbered on the side. SS will typically be along the spine or on the bottom. These, however, are not factory done. They are done post-factory. They went to an arsenal. The police stamped them themselves. The railway would stamp their own. They had the machines to do that. You see an X, that's the extra. So this one was in the gun. This is extra. The reason I know it wasn't done in the factory, you can see these dents. You can see where it was stamped in. It causes some dimpling in the metal, and that's because the metal was already hardened. Last step is they harden the metal, and then if you try to stamp it after that, it'll make those little dents in it. But if you look at the SS guns, you almost never see any dimpling or because it is soft metal. They stamp it in, then they harden the metal and finish it. So all that is to say, this is added later. 2-match mag, railway rig, a very rare find, and one I've only had maybe 2 go through this company in the last 10, 12 years. Now for these last 4, they all are of the similar kind in that they're all GI put together guns. So early April of 1944, the factory was overrun by the U.S. Army. They stayed for a few days, moved out, other people came in. They stayed for a few days, they moved out, other people came in. And the last ones to come in were the Russians because it was in their sector, so we turned the factory over to them. They took out all the equipment, moved it to Russia, and then blew up the factory. While the Americans were there, they were putting together guns. First of all, there were guns laying around all over the place. So the first wave of Americans just grabbed guns that were already put together. Some of them were probably already proofed, but never mailed, never sent out, never shipped out, I should say. So we really wouldn't know because if these are proof, then we just assume they were issued. So once those guns were all gone, then the Americans were putting together guns. Now the story goes they were putting them together, or they were giving food rations and cigarettes to the Polish workers who were left in the factory, and they were putting them together for the Americans to have souvenirs. This is the first example of a GI put together because it is serial numbered, but the serial numbers don't match. It's really hard to read. This is pretty clear that it is 795, and this one is not very clear, but it's a mismatch. So we call it a GI mismatched. Also, the GIs like to nickel plate them because it would, I guess it would bling their souvenir. And so at that time, that period of history, there were people at the factory who were offering to nickel plate it, and maybe they'll say for a pack of cigarettes I'll nickel plate it. This nickel plating was not done by the Germans, but I'm convinced it was probably unfinished, might have been blued. GI picked it up, had it put together to take home as a souvenir because there are no proof marks. There's supposed to be proof mark here and here. If you remember this one from 1940, you can see the proof mark here and here. And one hidden proof mark is right here. Right at the end of the barrel, there's a proof mark. That's another eagle end. So you have proof mark here, here, and here. But on this, no proof marks. It is serial numbered, but they're mismatched because they were just grabbing parts. Nobody cared about matching. There's also no proof on the end of the barrel. They didn't care about matching the numbers. There was bins full of frames. There were bins full of slides, and they were putting them together. This person decided to have it nickel plated and brought it home from the war. So this is a GI put together. Now, whether he skipped this or not, I don't know, but you can see that's actually a phosphated mag with a W on the back, which means unhardened. So this is 1945 for sure. Picked it up at the factory, picked this up at the factory, had everything nickel plated. I would be willing to bet that he also had a magazine nickel plated, but probably lost that somewhere along the way. And instead we have a spare mag that is phosphated. Speaking of parts, I wanted to show you this one because this is also a GI put together. Not only does it have no proof mark here, here, and none on the barrel, but it has no slide legend, and it has no serial number. Now, this is also aluminum frame. So this was in the factory, probably the parts. They put it together, aluminum frame with a regular slide, except for these cutouts, which I'm not sure. I have people tell me that they did experiment. Well, it's like a prototype for a select fire. These were levers for select fire. I don't know any of that for sure. You can see it has a high polished magazine. You can also see the Walther banner, interestingly. Walther banner, and you see the overstamp. There's the caliber, again, overstamped. Let's pull this apart really quickly because this will be educational as well. Very hard to get apart, by the way, because they weren't fitted. When they grab parts, and this you'll see with Lugers, even putting the side plate on, if they replace the side plate, it doesn't fit just right, but the craftsman would always make it fit right. When I take this off and then try to put it back together again, it's very difficult because it wasn't fitted properly. Again, they're grabbing parts out of bins. They weren't meant to be together, but you can see this is finished. This is nickeled. This is finished. This is finished. These parts, so the small parts are finished. This is the trigger bar. That's the hold open. Some parts are finished. Some parts are nickeled. Some parts are bare metal. And here's the kicker. You take this apart, whoever buys this, I need to tell you, this was not fitted properly. And it takes me, the last time the hole isn't big enough. And so you really have to work it. Bottom line is, off camera, I spent about 20 minutes trying to get this on. But to me, that's all part of the history, that they put this together from parts. They don't quite fit. They're a mismatch of parts. Also, when I talk about derail, and I always say there's a line, you can see where the steel barrel meets the aluminum frame right here, makes that line right there. And then this part down in here is not finished, but you can see the hold open is finished. Anyway, there's a whole education here. This one is not numbered, not proof marked. Also, no red dot painted in. Next one. No red dot painted in. Number 111. This one you've seen before. I showed it before. We actually thought we had it sold, but the person changed their mind, so it's available again. But this one, no serial number, no serial number, no proof mark, none on the barrel. This one shows some use. And then they put this on, I believe, for the PX. We talked about this being a PX gun. Or it was just numbered so that they could record it somewhere when the GI took it home. No red dot. So this, again, is a GI put together. There's the magazine. It's a Walther banner only, which is an early magazine. But the wear pattern on this pretty much matches the wear on the gun. And finally, I wanted to show you a PPK, because most of the vet bringbacks are PPs, because they stopped making the Walther PPK in 1944, and then they continued only making the PP. So most of your vet bringbacks are going to be PPs, because that's all they were making at the time. But evidently, what this tells me is there still were guns in the factory at the end that were PPK that had not been put together, but very few. This GI just got lucky because I'm sure this was picked up at the factory. Look at all the clues. No red dot, blued, 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 and I think blued, maybe worn. But there is a slide legend. There's no serial number, no proof marks. The grip, remember the grips change color. The last color of the grip would have been black, so it's got the black grip. Made in 1944, but picked up by a GI in 1945. This magazine is also really interesting. Puts a smile on my face. You just hang in there. If you're getting bored, don't go away, because this is really cool, and it's plus my last one. Now, here's what I noticed, and somebody just wrote to me. You know who you are. You're running actually the Facebook forum on Walthers, and you said, I saw this PPK. This is a PPK magazine, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. PPK magazines only have 6 holes. So how did that one get 7? And it clearly goes to a PPK. Goes to a PPK, not a PP. So here's a PP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you look at this is Walther banner only. And here, the Walther banner is above the caliber. The bottom line is, this was a PP magazine. They didn't have another PP magazine in the factory, so they just cut it off. See that gap there? In fact, there's a W in the back. This was an unhardened PP magazine. They cut the bottom off, so it had the caliber. Caliber's now gone, but you can still see the banner. So it's a PP magazine. That tells me something that I never realized. And for those of you who study this, you're going to go, they were short of PPK magazines at the end because they no longer were making PPs. They had some guns and they had some magazines to go with those guns, but some of the leftovers, there were not enough PPK magazines to go around, so they took PP magazines, they cut them down and made them fit. And I say that because who would go to the trouble to cut this off, and there's a little curl under here, so they'd have to really remanufacture it just to make it work, and it does fit inside this PPK. I'm just amazed. I learned something new today, but that's definitely been cut off. And it's not the only one, because somebody wrote to me this week, said they got a 7-hole PPK magazine, and the Walther banner is right down to the bottom. And I concluded that they cut it off. Anyway, good information. Hope you learned something today. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. These will be available on our website, I hope, but they'll also be snatched up quickly. So good luck.